Alright, this is Josh Rubin from East West Healing Performance. Today I want to talk to you about hypochlorhydria. What is this? It's basically low stomach acid. It's a dysfunction in the stomach where certain cells, like parietal cells and chi cells in the stomach, stop or reduce releasing hydrochloric acid and pepsin. Well, these things are very important for the stomach because the stomach actually, or I should say the mouth, which should be very alkalinic, sets up the entire pH of the entire GI system. And the stomach needs to be very acidic. It needs to be anywhere from 1 to 2.5 acidity level in order to digest proteins and to set up the entire digestive system. So if you do have hypochlorhydria, hopefully this YouTube clip will help you. So what are some of the causes of hypochlorhydria? Well, a lot of research says aging. As we age, we actually start producing less and less hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Well, the question is it age or is it things that we do and the stresses that we don't adapt to in our life as we age that cause lack of stomach acid production? For instance, if you're in a relaxed state or what's called a parasympathetic state, that actually stimulates digestion, stimulates juices, stimulates hydrochloric acid flow. If you're in a sympathetic state, like books always say, fight or flight, running from a lion, getting in a fight, even if you're just playing a sport, well, that actually inhibits, it's more sympathetic, it actually inhibits hydrochloric acid production. So the next thing is stress. Well, I just said that. Stress can actually influence how much hydrochloric acid you're producing. So that could be another cause. Whether or not you're in a parasympathetic relaxed state, which is like rest and digest, or a stressed fight or flight state actually inhibits it. Chronic overeating. Well, chronic overeating, this is a common problem in some people nowadays because when you eat, or you commonly overeat, especially refined carbohydrates, this actually exhausts stomach acid, but at the same time inhibits the amount of stomach acid that's being produced. So actually a diet that's high in carbohydrates can reduce the amount of hydrochloric acid. Zinc and thiamine deficiency. Zinc and thiamine are actually a precursor to producing hydrochloric acid. So finding out if you're hypochlorhydric and taking zinc and thiamine is super important. Certain drugs like antacids, the pill, women's birth control, things like that, or antacid drugs, these things actually downregulate the parietal cells in the gut and inhibit the amount of HCl production. Well, I found through testing that most people coming to see us, I would say 9 out of 10 people, sorry about that, that are on antacids or on the pill are actually hypochlorhydric, and they're not producing enough hydrochloric acid. Yes, they have reflux and GERD, but a lot of the time it's because they're not producing enough hydrochloric acid. And I'll explain a little bit what that typically is. The GERD actually is typically, I think it's called a bioreflux deficiency. What happens is it's a dysfunction from the foods that we eat, that bile acids actually escape through the little duct that joins the esophagus to the stomach, and you get a reflux, but it's more so because you're not producing enough hydrochloric acid. Lack of protein in your diet. Protein is super important to digest, or hydrochloric acid is super important to digest proteins. Without it, you don't release the hydrochloric acid. So a diet that's deficient in proteins can actually cause low stomach acid. Some other issues that can cause low stomach acid are frequent marijuana use, frequent alcohol use, prescription pill use, low estrogen levels, as well as being estrogen dominant, as well as certain conditions like hypo or hypothyroidism. So what can happen if you have low stomach acid from any reasons? And the key is to figure out why you have low stomach acid. Well, certain things that can happen are improper digestion, feeling like food sits in your stomach. Pancreatic insufficiencies, because if you're not releasing food into the small intestine from the stomach that's acidic, well, it doesn't set up the rest of the GI tract, and the pancreas can't do what it's supposed to do. And the pancreas has an endocrine function to release insulin, but it actually has an exocrine function to digest your food that you eat. You can actually have reduced absorption of nutrients such as calcium and iron. You can develop a B12 deficiency or pernicious anemia, which is basically from lack of protein, you don't produce enough intrinsic factor, which it leads to B12 deficiency. You can end up with severe mineral deficiencies. You can end up with an increased risk of infection, ulcer formation in the stomach, bacterial overgrowths, dysbiosis. You can actually create the environment for H. pylori to flourish, autoimmune disease. So there's a lot of things that can happen from being hypochlorhydric. Your key is to figure out why you're hypochlorhydric so you can actually work on the disease that you're suffering or battling at this point in time. So what are some of the diseases, or let's look at the signs and symptoms of being hypochlorhydric as well. Well, it's usually bloating, belching, things like that. It's flatulence after a meal, feeling like food sits in your stomach, cracked nails, weak peeling nails, or fingertips even, post-adolescent acne, usually like ear, eyes, nose, and rectal itching, undigested food in your stools, nausea after taking supplements, things like that. Well, what are some of the diseases that are associated with hypochlorhydria? Diabetes, asthma, or hypothyroidism, eczema, rosacea, gallbladder diseases, hepatitis, urticaria, which is like hives, adrenal exhaustion, osteoporosis, autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. So you can see there's a lot going on that can actually create hypochlorhydria, that can give you the signs and symptoms of hypochlorhydria, as well as that can lead to a disease, and these are the stages of disease. So what do? Well, the first thing you do is you want to get your HCl tested. Most people that we work are actually deficient in HCl. So you want to get your HCl tested. There's a simple test that you can do, and you can do it through your healthcare practitioner. And the bottom line is, if the pH of your stomach is over 3.5, you are hypochlorhydria. And the question is to figure out why from the beginning. Is it because of a B12 deficiency, thiamine, in zinc deficiency? Is it because of medications you're taking? Is it because of age? Is it because of chronic stressors? Is it because of hormone imbalances? So you need to figure out why you have low HCl in the stomach, and then treat it. Don't just treat the symptoms. I find that most people have a pH over 3.5 from testing. So what do you do from there? Well, you have to actually manage the foods that you're eating, manage the stressors in your life, because all these things can actually inhibit HCl production. So if you're taking HCl, if you haven't managed the nutrition that you're eating, you're not eating good quality living foods, you're not managing your stressors, the HCl that you're taking is not going to do much. Once you've adapted to the nutrition and lifestyle principles in your life by eating good quality foods, eating foods that aren't wrapped and packaged, eating foods that are organic and grass-fed and living, drinking plenty of water, reducing the stressors in your life, learning to take time out for yourself, all these things, then you can start taking an HCl supplement, some type of pancreatic supplement or liver supplement that your body needs. And you can find this out through testing. So you can take an HCl supplement. Usually we recommend starting with 1 tablet the middle of a meal. If you don't feel any burning, next meal, take 2 tablets. If you don't feel any burning, next meal, take 3 tablets. And if you feel burning with 3 tablets, you go back down to 2 tablets. Okay, that burning meant you took too much. So you take 2 tablets then with every meal for about a month. Now, if you're on antacids, or you've had a history of ulcers and things like that, do not take hydrochloric acid. Get tested. A lot of the times we find people that are hypochlorhydric, a lot of the times actually have bacterial overgrowths, they have gastritis, they have some type of H. pylori infection. So you want to do some testing so you can treat yourself as an individual. But hopefully you've learned something from this YouTube clip today. It's Monday, moving a little bit slow, but you know some of the causes of hypochlorhydria. You know the signs and symptoms. You know some of the diseases. Now the key is to figure out why you have it and to treat it individually so you can actually get the results that you need. We find a lot of people suffering from many kind of weird diseases or weird skin rashes or respiratory problems or stomach dysfunction. And a lot of the time it's as simple as they're not producing enough hydrochloric acid. And like I said, the mouth is alkalinic, the stomach is acidic, the small intestine is alkalinic, and the large intestine is acidic. So you have this pH-driven system, and it's driven by proper pH. And the stomach is basically the first spot that drives the rest of the GI system. So if you fix your gut, you fix your health, bottom line. So hopefully you've learned something. I'll check you later. If I don't get another YouTube clip in, I'm going to try. Have a great holiday season, and I'll see you before the new year.